Hi everyone, in this video we will discuss a very interesting problem and solve it using 5 different approaches with dynamic array formulas. This video is more of a general video on how to tackle reverse duplicate pairs in Excel. Also, a shout out to Chinmay Amte sir, as this problem and the solution number 4 has been adapted from one of his LinkedIn posts. So I will attach the link of that post as well in the description below along with this file. So let's have a look at the problem and the intended solution first. So let's say in this table we have this origin column and the destination column with the cities, right? And we have this sales column as well. So let's say here we have Ajmer as origin and Bangalore as destination, and this is the sales value. And let's say here we have suppose Bangalore as origin now and destination as Ajmer now. So the cities have been swapped. Now what we want to do is we want to club both these items as one and then calculate the total sales value. So we don't care about what was the origin and what was the destination. We just want to calculate the total sales that took between the given two cities, right? So as you can see here, we have this solution here built using dynamic arrays. Again, the formula that we have used here, we will build it step by step using 5 different approaches. So this is one of the 5 approaches, right? We will have a look at that, but this is the result that we have. And as you can see here that we have Ajmer to Bangalore and the total sales amount is 2775, which is the sum total of this amount and this amount, right? So similarly you can have a look here that we have Pune to Delhi and Delhi to Pune, and we have the total sales amount of both these cities. So we have successfully removed all the reverse duplicates from this table and grouped them together to calculate the total sales amount. Likewise, you can calculate, let's say, the count of the total reverse duplicates and so on. So your case can be different from this one, correct? So that's why I said that this is going to be more of a general video on this problem of removing reverse duplicates or clubbing them together. So let's have a look at another case as well. So let's test this formula that this is dynamic or not. So let's say here we have origin as Indore and destination as Hyderabad and sales of 385. Now we don't have any other case like origin as Hyderabad and destination as Indore in this table, and that thing we can see in result as well. So we have city 1 as Indore, city 2 as Hyderabad, and the total sales is same as 385 here, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's add Hyderabad in origin. So let's write in Hyderabad, right? And you can see that as soon as we write Hyderabad here in origin, we can see that the dynamic array formula populated Hyderabad in city 1. And let's also do one thing. Let's write Indore in destination. So we will write Indore in destination, and as soon as we press enter, so you can see that this Hyderabad that we could see here in city 1 and serial number also we could see, so that disappeared and it got clubbed with this one, right, with this group. So Indore and Hyderabad, and right now sales amount is 385, but let's say we add 15 here, right, and the total will come out to be 400, correct? So this is working fine, and now we could proceed with all the 5 approaches that we are going to discuss in detail and build this one right from scratch step by step. So I hope you would watch this video till the end, because this is really going to be fun and there are so much of learnings throughout these 5 approaches. So let's proceed and let's have a look at the very first approach. Okay, so let's have a look at this if match approach, but before that let's try to generalize the idea of dealing with this problem of reverse duplicates. So let's say here we have Jodhpur and Ranchi, and here we have Ranchi and Jodhpur. So clearly these are reverse duplicates. So how we can identify them as one group? So what we will do is we will assign both of these items a common and unique ID, right? So let's say we assign them a number, let's say 1. So we will call this particular item and this particular item by 1. And similarly, let's say we assign Ajmer Bangalore this group the ID number 2. So we will call Ajmer Bangalore, or whether it is Bangalore Ajmer, we will call them by 2, right? So we are what essentially we are doing is we are assigning them IDs, unique IDs, and we are assigning IDs by groups, correct? So let's see how we can approach that thing. So let's come back to our approach number 1, And what we will do is, first of all, we will use a condition here. So equals to, and what is our condition here? So equals to origin less than destination, right? It is sounding weird, but let's try this condition, and it could be less than or greater than anything you could use. So let's press enter, and we have got our values as trues and false. So let's say for this Jodhpur and Ranchi we have this true here, and for this combination, that is Ranchi and Jodhpur, we have this false here. Correct. Now what we will do is, we will use a very interesting if condition. So equals to if, and as our logical test we will pass this array, and we don't require to write equals to true or equals to false, because these are already the conditions in themselves, right? And what if our value is true? So what we want to concatenate this origin, and let's use ampersand, and let's use hyphen as our combination. So again ampersand, and then we want to combine it with or concatenate it with destination, comma, what if the value is false? So we want this destination, ampersand, and hyphen as our delimiter, correct? Then again ampersand and this origin column, correct? And let's close this bracket, press enter, and let's see our results. So we have this Jodhpur Ranchi here, we have this Jodhpur Ranchi here. So we have established a common thing between these two items, right? So we have essentially, or partially we can say that we have grouped them. Now we want to translate this thing, particularly this thing, as our unique ID number. So we want to translate these into numbers. So for that we will use match function. So equals to match, right? Equals to match, and as our lookup value we will select this array. As our lookup array we will again select this array, and as our match type we will select 0, right? Press enter, and as you can see we have assigned these particular values a unique ID, and we have, let's say, 1 here for Jodhpur Ranchi, and here as well we have 1, correct? And so for Ajmer Bangalore, let's say we have this 2 here and we have this 2 here, right? Now our task is very easy. So what we will do is, we will simply do equals to, and then we will use unique function. So equals to unique, and as our array parameter we will select this array and close the bracket, press enter. So we have this thing. So now what we will do is, we will simply use equals to choose rows, right? This is really I know you would think that this is really weird, but equals to choose rows. And now what we will do is, we will use hstack, right? And as our array 1 we will select this origin, as our array 2 we will select this destination, close the bracket, right? And as our row number 1 we will select this unique array that we generated, close the bracket, press enter, and we have our results here. This is just wow. And we have the results, and now we want to calculate the total sales. So for that we will use SUMIFS function, but it is better to use by row along with filter function. So let's use that. So equals to by row, and let's pass this as our array, right? And as our function we will write lambda, and let's say we denote each row by x, right? And what function we will use? So sum, and let's use filter, right? And we want to filter this array, sales array, on the basis of this array equals to our current row, that is x. So let's close the bracket and let's press enter. So we have our results here, right? And let's format these. So let's say we want to have this thing here, right? So we have formatted these numbers as well. So let's test this formula. So let's do one thing. Let's say here we have Nagpur Ranchi. So let's change this Ranchi to, let's say, Bangalore, right? So we will write Bangalore, and as you can see that our number of rows have now reduced, right? Because this Nagpur and Bangalore, and this Bangalore Nagpur got clubbed into Nagpur and Bangalore, correct? So we have this thing here. Also you can do one thing. So we have this flexibility. Let's say here in our results we can see Nagpur and Bangalore, but let's say in our results for some reasons we want to see the last combination. So let's say we want to see Bangalore and Nagpur, so we can change that thing as well. So what we will do is, in place of match function we will use xmatch, right? And we will add one more parameter, so search mode from last to first, correct, from last to first. And let's select this one, press enter. So we have our results updated, and now we can see that we have got Ranchi and Jodhpur, right, in place of Jodhpur, Ranchi, Bangalore, Ajmer, right, this one Bangalore, Ajmer, and also for Bangalore, Nagpur, in place of Nagpur and Bangalore we could see Bangalore and Nagpur. And now also we have our count as same as we had before. So this is the first approach. So we can anytime convert this solution into pieces into one lambda or inside a let function, right? So that is anytime possible, but for now you can see that we have got our results, right? So from this one approach we got to learn so many functions and so many new tricks, right? So we used our logical operators with strings, right? And then we used this if condition, and then we use this xmatch function, and also we saw one more parameter, this search mode with this xmatch function. And then we use this choose rows in very weird manner, right? And then we finally used, in place of sum ifs, we use this a trick with by row and filter, right? Why we use this? Because if we try to, let's say, wrap this inside a let function, so we will require this trick. Sum ifs will not work with let function. So that's the first approach. And now let's move on to our second approach. So let's see what we will use in this approach using XLOOKUP and map. So now as our first step, what we will do is we will use equals to sequence function, right? And as our rows parameter we will write rows function and then select this complete table, correct? Close the bracket, press enter, and now we have this sequence of numbers from 1 to 20. Now what we will do is, so let's say we select this pair of Mumbai and Amritsar for illustration purpose. So now what we will do is equal to, and compare this Mumbai with this complete origin column, right? Press enter, and we have these trues and false. Now similarly we will compare this Mumbai with this complete destination column. Press enter, and again we have these values. Then what we will do is we will compare this Amritsar with this complete origin column. Press enter, and then we will compare this Amritsar with this destination column, correct? Press enter. Now we have these trues and falses. Now what we will do is we will simply add these values for Mumbai, correct? So when we compared Mumbai with origin and destination, so we are adding those two arrays. Now this plus operator denotes the OR condition, right? So we are checking either Mumbai is in origin or in destination, correct? So when we press enter we get this 1 and zeros, right? So these false and trues are converted into these binary numbers. Now similarly we will do the same thing for Amritsar, right? So plus, then again this array, correct? So we have these two arrays, and now simply what we will do is we will multiply both these arrays, right? So this multiply operator denotes the AND condition, right? Press enter, and we have these values, and as you can see we are getting 1 here. That means we have Mumbai Amritsar here, right? Now let's say in place of, let's say, Surat and Kanpur, what we do is we will write Amritsar here in origin, so Amritsar, right? And we will write Mumbai here in place of Kanpur, so Mumbai. So as you can see, as we made changes here, right, opposite one, so we are getting the results here. So we have 1 here and 1 here, correct? So whether we write Mumbai or Amritsar and Mumbai, so that means one and the same thing. So we have translated into this part. And now let's say we want to assign let's say this Mumbai and Amritsar, and this Amritsar and Mumbai with some unique and identical ID. So we can do simply XLOOKUP, right? So let's say we apply here XLOOKUP, so equals to XLOOKUP, and our lookup value will be 1, and our lookup array will be this array, right? And our return array will be again this sequence array that we generated in the very first step. So press enter, and we have this 3 here. Similarly we can do this for this one as well, and likewise we will do for each of these values. So for that purpose we will require map function. So let's wrap all these all these conditions inside this map function, correct? So we have this sequence function, and now we will start writing our map function. So equals to, and let's also do one thing, we will use let function now. Why? The beauty of let function is, so let's say suppose if I do a reference of this particular column, so the reference becomes this much big, right? So if we are using it multiple times, the formula looks deadly, but actually it is not, right? It is very small. Actually the reference that we use for tables and also that makes it big actually, right? So we will use let function, so equals to let, right? And as our name, let's say we define O as our origin, so O as our origin, and let's say D as our destination, correct? And let's say now we use the map function, right? So in map function, as our array, what we will do is we will pass O as our first array, and as our second array we will pass D, correct? And then we will start writing our lambda function, so equals to lambda, and then we will refer origin by X and destination by, let's say, Y, right? And what we will do is now start writing that XLOOKUP part. So we will write XLOOKUP, and we were looking for 1, and our lookup array, in our lookup array we will write that particular formula. So our formula will be, so open the bracket, again open the bracket, X equal to O, right? So that's the beauty actually of let function. So we would have written this this complete reference here as well, again and again, so that would have made it really big, the formula look really big. So X equals to O, and plus, again open the bracket, X equals to D, close the bracket, then again multiply, again open two brackets, and then similarly Y equals to O, close the bracket, plus open the bracket, and Y equals to D, close the bracket twice, and we have our lookup array generated, and we want to as our return array we want to return this sequence, correct? So this is our return array, and let's close all the brackets, right? Press enter, and we have generated our resultant array. So as you can see, for Mumbai and Amritsar, right, we have 3 here, and where's Amritsar and Mumbai? Here it is, and we have 3 here, correct? So let's find another pair. So let's say we have this Pune and Delhi here, we have 8 here, and again for Delhi and Pune we have this 8 here. Now all the steps that we have to do right now are just same as we did here, right, in our first approach, correct? So I will quickly write them, and also there you might see some changes in the result here, but that is because I have made some changes in the source data itself, correct? So this is the result that we generated using XLOOKUP and map functions. So now let's move on and let's explore the third approach, that is using min and max functions. So as our first step, what we will do is we will find unique values of all the cities that are there in this table, right, whether they are in origin or destination. So we will use vstack, so equals to vstack, and let's say our array 1 is this origin column and array 2 is this destination column. Close the bracket, press enter, and now we will find unique of all these values. So close the bracket, press enter, and we have unique list of cities. Now what we will do here is equal to drop, right, and from this table we will drop the sales column, right? So in our columns parameter we will write -1, press enter, and we have this array, And now what we will do is we will apply the match function, so equals to match, right? And our lookup value will be this. Lookup array will become now, so lookup array will be this array, and again exact match, close the bracket, press enter, and we have our values now. Now as you can see that we are getting closer, so we have translated this particular thing into numbers, so 1,17 and 17,1. Now what we will do is, let's say we want to find maximum of these two values, right? So press enter and let's drag this down. So as you can see that we have established a common identifier between this Jodhpur and Ranchi Jodhpur, right? So 17 and 17. So whether you write 17,1 in maximum function or 1,17 in maximum function, it has to be the same result, correct? So now let's do this dynamically. So let's use by row function, so equals to by row, and let's pass this array, and as our function we will use again lambda, and let's denote each row by x, and we want to find, you can either use max or minimum function, right? So it will return one and the same thing, so equals, so max and then x, right? Close the bracket, again close, press enter, and we have established unique identifiers. So now calculating only this maximum value here will not be sufficient. Why? Because let's say here we have Jodhpur and Ranchi, and here we have Nagpur and Ranchi. Now for both of them we have a common identifier as 17, but that is not correct. If we apply suppose unique function, then that will keep only one of any one of these, right? But we want to keep both of them. We want to eliminate this Ranchi and Jodhpur one, correct? So how we can approach this? So one way to approach this is that we find minimum as well and then combine it with maximum. So let's take here Jodhpur and Ranchi. So here we have, let's say 1,17, right? So 1 and 17, and here for Nagpur and Ranchi, here we have 7 and 17, right? So again we want to keep both of them, so our common identifier, a unique identifier, will be a combination of this minimum as well as the maximum value, right? So let's do one thing here in this formula. What we can do is we will write minimum of again x, right? And let's use a hyphen again as our delimiter, and let's use ampersand again, and let's press enter, and now we have our common identifiers and what as per what we wanted, right? So we have this 1,17 and 1,17 here, right? And again Nagpur and Ranchi, for Nagpur and Ranchi we have this 7,17, 7-17, right? One and the same thing. You can use any other delimiter as well here. So now what we will do is, so we will generate a sequence, so equals to sequence, and in our rows parameter we will again pass this rows, and then again this complete table, close the brackets, press enter, and we have generated this sequence of numbers. So we should have ideally done this earlier, but it's okay. So now equals to unique, right? And as our array we will pass this one, press enter. So now we will use the XLOOKUP function, so equals to XLOOKUP, and our lookup value will be this one, right? And our lookup array will be this array, and our return array will be this sequence array that we generated in the last step. So again close the bracket, press enter, and we have this list. Now what to do of this list? So again we will use choose rows function right? So we have used it quite a lot of times, right? So choose rows, and our array will be again h stack, right? And then this origin column and comma this destination, close the bracket, comma, and our row number will be this XLOOKUP function that we have used, close the bracket, press enter, and we have got our results. Okay, so Jodhpur, Ranchi, Ajmer, Bangalore, again Bangalore, Nagpur as our this result, correct? Now in order to calculate the sum, so we can again copy that formula from any of the previous two approaches. So again let's copy this, and let's again go back here and let's paste it here. So for this we will pass this array, and for our filter we will filter this sales column, and again lastly this particular array, right? Press enter and we have our results again. Let's format this as well. So let's use comma separator and round it to 0 decimal places. Correct. So this is our result using approach 3, that is using minimum and maximum combination. Correct. So again this was a bit lengthy than the previous two approaches, but I think you enjoyed it. So let's move on. Now let's come to approach number 4, and this approach is based on the property of prime numbers. So as I said earlier that this approach has been adapted from one of the posts by Chinmay Amte sir on LinkedIn. So you should definitely go and check out that post through the link given in description box below. Right. So what is the property of prime numbers that we are going to use? So let's say from this list of prime numbers we take any two prime numbers. So let's take 5 and 7 suppose. Now the product of these two prime numbers, that is 35, can be arrived only through the combination of these two prime numbers. Right. So if we take any other two prime numbers, any other pair of prime numbers, we cannot yield a product of 35. Product of 35 is only possible with 5 and 7. Correct. Now how we can use that property in our case? So if you remember, we have used this logic earlier as well. Now you multiply 5 by 7 or 7 by 5, so that is one and the same thing, and that is the property that we are going to use. Right. So essentially we are going to use two properties, one of multiplication and one of prime numbers. Correct. So let's move on and let's see how we can actually implement it. So first of all we will go to third approach again, and let's copy this formula to get a unique list of all the cities from this table. Right. So let's paste it here and let's change our references. So let's change this to this origin column, and let's change this to this destination column. Correct. And let's press enter. So we have this unique list of cities. Now what we will do is we will assign each of these cities with a prime number. Right. So how we can do this? So this is a table of prime numbers. You can also use a lambda function to return n prime numbers. Right. So if you want a video on that as well, do let me know in the comment section. So how we can do this? Equals to, we can use take function. Right. Take, and our array will be again this one, and our number of rows will be again rows in this array of cities. Right. Close the bracket, and one more bracket to be closed. So we have assigned a prime number to each of these cities. Correct. Now what we will do is equals to XLOOKUP. Right. And in our lookup value we will pass h stack and then this origin column, right, comma this destination, close the bracket, comma, and our lookup array will be this unique list of cities, comma, and return array will be this prime numbers. Correct. Close the bracket, press enter, and we have this as a result. Correct. Now what we have to do is we have to multiply each of these rows. Right. So 2 multiplied by 59, 3 multiplied by 47, 5 by 61. So so how it will be, so how it will become unique? So 2 multiplied by 59 will be equal to 59 by 2. Right. So let's see how we can implement this. So equals to by row. Right. And let's pass this array, and in our function we will write lambda, and let's denote each row by x, and what we want is we want product of each row. Right. So product of x, close the brackets, press enter, and we have got our products. So now what we will do is, as we did in earlier approach, so equals to sequence, right, and rows will be the number of rows in this whole table. Right. Close the brackets, press enter, and now we will finalize our result. So equals to again unique, and again unique of all these numbers. Right. and now equals to again the trick that we used in the last approach. So lookup x lookup, and our lookup value will be this array, that is unique array. Lookup array will be this complete array, and a return array will be this sequence, right? Close the bracket, press enter, and now we will use again choose rows function. So choose rows, and our array will be again h stack, right? And again select this, select destination, correct, and let's close the bracket, comma, and our row num will be this x lookup function. Close the bracket, press enter, and now we will find the sum. So equals to, again we can copy this formula from previous approach. So let's copy this, right, and let's come here and paste this here, and let's change the references. So our reference will now become this one, and our sales table will also change, correct? So this will be our column, and our this reference will also change. So again let's press enter, and we have our results, right? So let's change the format finally, and we are good to go. So this is another approach using prime numbers. So this was really amazing, right? So now let's move on, and let's see what we have as our final approach. So this is some product approach, and this is similar to approach number 3 in implementation part, right? So let's try to understand the logic first. So let's say we are given with a particular sum. So let's say the sum of two numbers is 9, and let's say the product of those two numbers is 14, correct? Now our task is to find those two numbers. So let's say x plus y equals to 9, and x multiplied by y is equal to 14. Now if we try to solve for x and y from these two equations, we are only going to get one pair of numbers, right, with one value for x and one value for y, correct? So let's see how we are going to use this property, right? And let's see how this is similar to the one we discussed in third approach, and let's see that how it is similar to the third approach in implementation part. So again let's go to the third approach, and let's copy this formula from here, right? So this part is just the same. We have to get the unique list of cities. So again equals to, and let's change the references. So here in place of 3 I will make 5, table 5, and again here table 5. Let's press enter, and let's again go back to table number 3, and we want this step as well. So again copy this, and let's come back here and paste this formula here, and let's change the reference. So until here it is just the same as we discussed in the third approach. Now, so as we did here min and max, similarly we have to do sum and product, right? So we will copy this formula as well. So let's copy this, and let's come back here in the fifth approach, and let's paste it here. So again equals to by row, and in place of minimum we will use sum function. So sum, and in place of max we will use again product function, right? And let's press enter. So we have got our unique IDs. So again 1817, 1817, right? 1730, and again 1730 for Bangalore, Ajmer, correct? So now again same steps as we did in third approach. So again let's copy this, right, and let's come back here to this approach, and let's paste this here, and let's change the reference to table 5, and let's again go back, and here we have to do unique only. So let's copy this formula. This one is long, so let's copy this, and first of all let's calculate unique here. So equals to unique, right, and unique of this array. Press enter, and again here we will paste that formula, right, and change our references to table 5, table number 5, right? And all other references are just correct. So again, this is our result, and just final part is left, that is the sum, right? So let's come here and let's paste it here, and let's change our reference to table number 5. Enter, and we have our results. So again, let's format this, right? So these are the 5 approaches that we have discussed. Again, each of these approaches you can actually bind them inside a single formula, as we have seen here. So again, this is the complete let function. You can take a screenshot of this let function and frame your formula, right? We will discuss let function in detail in some another video, but for this video we have discussed in detail all the 5 approaches, right? And step by step. So I hope the logics that we have used were also clear to you, and please do let me know in the comment section that did you like this video or not, or and do you want more such videos in future or not, right? And please do like and subscribe the channel, and do share it with your friends. So thank you so much for watching this very long video. I don't know the exact timings, but it would have been so much long because we have comprehensively covered all the things, correct? And also, if you have any other approach, do mention in the comment section, and I will also attach the link to this file in the description box below, right? And also do check out the post by Chinmay Amte sir in the description box. So thank you so much, and hope to see you in more such upcoming videos. Thank you.